Hi guys and welcome to Fandom Newbie. My name is Shruti and today I'm going to be doing a spoiler-free review of Chetan Bhagat's latest book, One Arranged Murder. Now, it's been about 8 years since I read a Chetan Bhagat book and I've done an entire video on what I feel about Chetan Bhagat books. If you guys haven't seen that, I'll link it up here. You can go check it out. But basically, I usually don't like Chetan Bhagat books. I don't like his writing style and a lot of his character development. But this one, I have to say, I didn't hate it. And I'm genuinely surprised that I didn't hate this book. Some parts were really enjoyable to read and they were like really fast-paced and fun. Of course, there were some issues, like there were some issues with the grammar as well as character development, which is not Chetan Bhagat's forte. But overall, this book was not bad and it was actually quite fun to read. So I'm just gonna jump straight into the review. So this book is Chetan Bhagat's second murder mystery thriller that he's written, and it's kind of like a sequel to The Girl in Room 105. Now, I haven't read that book, but what I've heard is that the main characters in this book, who are Keshav and Saurabh, first make their appearance in that book, The Girl in Room 105. And Keshav and Saurabh basically start their detective agency in that book. So this book kind of like, I'm guessing, picks up where that one left off, or it's kind of like a sequel. But in this one, Saurabh is engaged to a girl named Prerna, and Saurabh and Prerna are madly in love with each other. So much that Prerna wants to fast for Karwa Chauth even before they get married. Now they're both celebrating Karwa Chauth even though they're just engaged, and Prerna has called Saurabh up to her terrace of her building in Delhi, where she'll break her fast and they'll do the full Karwa Chauth thing. But when Saurabh comes to the terrace of her building, he realizes that Prerna has actually fallen off the terrace and she is dead. The police are then called and they start their investigations, and as they're carrying out their investigations, they realize that this fall might not have been an accident, it might not have been suicide, but it actually could be a murder. And all the suspects for this murder are the people who live in Prerna's house, who are her mother, her father, her brother, her chacha, bua, dadi, Prerna's cousin from the US, the maid, and the driver. So these 9 people are the main suspects for this murder. Now, like I said before, Keshav and Saurabh had founded a detective agency in the previous book. So in this book also, because it's Saurabh's fiancée who has died, Keshav and Saurabh join in the investigation along with the police and try to figure out who the murderer is and try to kind of crack the case. So what I really liked about this book is how you kind of follow along Keshav and Saurabh as they're trying to solve the case. So you follow along with them as they go into their hideouts and they like spy on people. You follow along with them as they interview suspects, and you also get to like read witness testimonies that the police have kind of captured, and you read them as if you're actually doing the investigation. And that kind of writing is something that I really enjoy. I really enjoy kind of following a detective along as they're solving a case, and that's exactly what Chetan Bhagat has done in this book, which is why it was so much fun to read, because like I found myself scribbling down the names of the suspects as Keshav and Saurabh are carrying out their detective case, and kind of like crossing them out if I think that they're not the killer. So that's why I really had fun reading this book and I found it so enjoyable. The book is also extremely fast-paced. Like Chetan Bhagat doesn't waste any time with anything else. He just like dives straight into the mystery, and all the kind of like major scenes and occurrences happen at a very fast pace. So this book can easily be read in probably one sitting. That's what I did when I read it. Actually, I read it as a part of my 24-hour readathon, which I did last week. If you guys haven't checked that out, I'll link it up here as well. But yeah, pretty much I read this in like 1 or 2 sittings in the same day. The language, like all other Chetan Bhagat books, is also extremely simple, very easy to read. So great for beginners as well who want to read something that's a little bit more fun, fast-paced, but also has a mystery. The other thing that I really liked about this book was that it was quite relatable. Now, I don't know if this is because I am extremely homesick, because honestly, because of this freaking COVID-19 pandemic, this is probably the longest I have not been home. And I'm really getting homesick right now. But I don't know if it was because of that, or just because I guess his book is good. Maybe I should give him credit where it's due. But all the things, like the way he's described Delhi and the way he's described, like, you know, the different places where they go to eat and the things that they eat, I don't know, all of that made me very nostalgic. It was extremely relatable to me. I'm actually from Mumbai, but my husband is from Delhi, and every single Diwali my husband and I would actually go back home to Delhi and we would celebrate Diwali with my in-laws. And because of that, I gotten to know Delhi a lot better, and I know a lot of, like, you know, the roads that were mentioned in the book, the restaurants that were mentioned in the book, especially like the places where they wanted to go eat chaat and the places where they were eating samosas and whatever. Like, all of that was so familiar to me. And yeah, it made me feel very nostalgic. It was very relatable. I'm sure if you live in Delhi and if you read this book, you will agree with me that it was very relatable, and I quite enjoyed that about the book as well. So yeah, basically, before I jump into like the two things that kind of annoyed me about this book, let me just wrap this up by saying that this is actually a quite enjoyable read. Like, easily this is a 3-star book. And if you're looking for something that is a fun, fast-paced mystery that's in a very classic whodunit kind of style, then pick this book up and give it a read, because honestly, it's very simply written, it's very easy to read, and you'll easily finish this in about a day. But now let me get into the two things that I didn't like about this book, or that really annoyed me. The first one is kind of like, chalo theek hai, because I've noticed this in other Chetan Bhagat books as well, which is that the grammar in this book, some parts of it are a bit off, especially his tenses. Now, generally, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, generally when you start writing a book in past tense, a lot of your sentences like have to remain in past tense, like the whole book has to remain in past tense. But what I noticed in this book is that it starts being written in past tense, but throughout the book there are some places where he suddenly switches to present tense or like present continuous tense, and that's what really like threw me off when I was reading it, because I'm like, isn't everything supposed to be in past tense? Like, why is he suddenly switching to present tense over here, where like when it could easily have been made into a past continuous tense sentence, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know why he had to switch to present tense, and it's a little bit jarring, especially like when you see it happen many times throughout the book. The second thing that I didn't like about this book was actually all the fat shaming. So the main narrator in this book is Keshav, who is one of the two main characters, and Keshav is described to be a person who's very unemotional. He doesn't really care about other people's feelings. Like, he's not caring, he's extremely rude sometimes and like very blunt with people, and he's the one who does the majority of the fat shaming. Now the thing is that if his character is like that, who just doesn't care about anyone and will say whatever he wants to say, then okay, fine, like this character can fat shame. But the thing is that the fat shaming is not called out, and the fat shaming is used as a way to make the book humorous. And the fat shaming is also used as a way to like describe every single slightly overweight person in the book. So when the fat shaming is used as a device for character development, and when the fat shaming is used as a device to describe characters, and it is used as a device to make the book funny, then for me that is not okay, because the fat shaming is never even called out. Like, the only time that Keshav says, yes, I called Prerna fat because she's fat, and yes, I know that's fat shaming, but it's okay, you can call fat people fat. Like, that's the only time that the word fat shaming is addressed in the book, but even then he has a justification for it, saying that if a fat person is fat, you can call them fat, which I think is absolutely wrong and so demoralizing to anyone who has body issues who's reading this book. The other thing that I would like to mention is that yes, like Saurabh and Prerna are described as slightly overweight in this book, but the thing is that there's one point where Keshav actually mentions Prerna's weight, and she's 70 kilos. That's like fine, that's normal. First of all, we don't know what her height is, if she's like a tall Punjabi girl who's 70 kilos. Like, seriously, how judgmental can you be? Oh my god. It really bothered me. Like, the fat shaming really bothered me, because the other thing, like I was saying, that it was used for character development, because for all the people in the book who were, like, you know, a bit overweight, for them, their entire personality that was given to them, or their entire, like, character development depended on food. So the way that they were described also all depended on their physical characteristics of having chubby cheeks, or they were like round people, or the fact that they couldn't live without food. Like, all the personality traits that are given to people who are a bit overweight in this book revolves around food, whereas the thinner characters in this book and the ones who are fit, like, they're actually called fit as compared to the unfit other characters, like, all these characters are suddenly like mysterious, and they're sexy, they're like, you know, they're the ones who like to party a lot, they smoke, drink, do drugs, blah blah blah, and it's just so stereotypical. And that's the thing that Chetan Bhagat does really well, which is that he plays up the stereotypes of people who are there in Indian society, and the most surprising thing is that everyone likes it. Like, we are so judgmental as a society that when we get caricatures of communities and of people, and like, you really play up the worst stereotypes of that person, and you put it into their characteristics, and you put it into their character development in a book, that we actually find it funny, and we actually find it like, oh my god, yeah, this happens in my community, ha 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 ha, this is so funny, when actually it's not funny at all. Of course, all of these criticisms is because A, I'm a book nerd and a voracious reader, and things like grammar and character development matter a lot to me, and B, because I am very sensitive about body issues, and I hate people who fat shame others. So yeah, that's why these things bothered me. It might not bother anyone else who reads the book, and they might just take it as a joke, but yeah, to me it's wrong, and that's why I had to call it out when I was reading this book. But like I said before, this is a fun, enjoyable read, and it is a fast-paced murder mystery that you can honestly finish in a day. So knowing about the fat shaming and the few grammar mistakes, if this is a book that you want to read, then go ahead and pick it up, because you won't really be spending a lot of time reading it. It'll probably just be a day. So yeah, I would say go for it. But yeah, that was my video for today. I hope you guys enjoyed my review. If you did, give this video a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below letting me know if you guys have read Chetan Bhagat's latest book. If you have, let me know what you guys thought about it. And of course, do subscribe to my channel for more book related videos like this. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.